just before we go to the presentation from Christoph, we do have one very specific question which is sitting in the chat from the session this morning, and that's from Leho in Estonia. And he's making the point that, of course, many of the procedures associated with the previous FAS system, certification, public procurement, are embedded in a national regulatory framework. And he's asking the question, which is a contradiction at the moment, if you anticipate any thoughts on addressing this. I mean, do you see that as a smooth transition, or do you anticipate any potential problems at a national level?
Well, I would expect that it would be smooth. Why? Because the reason why it went into the national framework was because there was EU law asking for it. We asked at least 3 years of experience, a minimum capacity of the body, the advisory body, and a few things more. So you had to certify your advisors in order to be in line with what Europe was asking. So now that we skip all that, there's only one obligation left, and that's partiality. And that's relatively easy to solve with an agreement that the advisor signs, and maybe a sanction behind if there would be evidence that he is not or witnesses that show that he is not working impartial, and that he has a conflict of interest, that he's working with a certain firm to sell more of this or that. So that's the only thing to do. And the result will be that, in fact, certification is not needed anymore, public procurement neither. And our hope is that countries are not going back to the old system, but realize that they have now this freedom and make it much less, also for themselves, for the staff of the departments and the ministries. It will make things much simpler. And that's also why we have so much interest in this voucher system, because on the one hand, people want to give the power back to the farmer to make the advice demand driven. And on the other hand, it's relatively easy. You give a number of vouchers, and for the rest, you don't have to look to invoices or whatever. You just count the vouchers in the end, and it can be done in IT systems. I already saw IT systems working like that. So I hope we get rid now of also in the national framework these certification and procurement, but it's very important to communicate that, because regularly I still speak with people who had not understood this message. It's new, and it's important you pass the message as wide as possible.
And obviously you've mentioned vouchers, and on the subject of vouchers, we also had a comment, a concern expressed by Anton Jagodic in Slovenia in the chat. And maybe I'll just invite Anton to repeat his comment and maybe to address it directly to Inge. Anton, please.
You're muted. Anton, you're muted. We see your mouse, but we have no sound.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I will try with my English to explain what my thoughts are. I maybe for understanding, in Slovenia we have a public advisory service, and it's public financed by the state. And when the farm advisory system was established, our advisors, this was integrated with our advisors. So the same advisors do the all type of advising, and also advising which was in that time necessary for a farm advisory system, like cross compliance advisors. And all this advising was also paid by the state. So we do not use the rural development money at that time. In the past period, so this one we are now in, we have public procurement, and also our advisory service was involved. So we win almost 90% of calls. So we do as advisors. So now the three types of advisor: the farm advisory system, the usually type of advisor, and those one who went through the public procurement advisor. But all three types work the same advisors on the field. And now the idea of voucher also is on the table in Slovenia. We discuss about this, but we are a little bit concerned that this system maybe will in somehow depend on this system we have, and we build it for a couple of years. I think that we have more than 30 years history of advisory service, and if the same system, the same advisors will then work on again in two types of working. So one type of advising will go to the public system, and one time to the voucher system. And we are not so sure if we do this, because our advisors now cover all type of advising in all regions in Slovenia, and we don't see the positive impact, because administration of our payment now is easy, because every month we set an application on the ministry and all our work is covered. So this is our thought in this way, and we discuss now in the ministry. I'm now and we will see what will happen. In the end, I just want to say that we would not want a change from public to private in the long term in Slovenia. So because we have small farms, and they cannot pay advisors, so the advising in Slovenia is free for the farmers, and we have a little bit fear about involving the voucher system, because this have some lines to do more on the private side of advisors. But we are not against the concurrence, because the concurrent is good and have a positive impact. So this is my thoughts. Okay.
Yeah. I can only say don't look problems where there are no problems. If the system is not overly administrative, and you don't need vouchers to solve it. So keep that's a general thing for the whole AKIS strategic approach. What is working well, just keep and focus on the things that need change. So in your case, I think it's very nice and very positive that the national funding can cover this advice, so that you can indeed, this is an issue in many countries, by the way, even where there's partial national funding, that some small farmers cannot be covered. So I think you're in a very good situation, and if you can keep it like that, I would certainly not advise you to work with vouchers. Vouchers are there to solve problems, or in some cases, member states want to use it to combine measures, to give like knowledge vouchers for advice, for training, to combine several ways of getting knowledge. But I'm not sure there's a need. You probably have vocational training or whatever. From what you told me about advice in your country, it seems well organized, and I would not see any reason for vouchers.
Okay, thank you. We will discuss in next month and we will find a solution as usually. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you, Anton, for the question, because I think it's an issue which has been concerning many people, and I think this is now a very useful and important clarification from Inge. But also this idea of using vouchers to solve problems and for using, you know, seeing them actually as a tool rather than a kind of an obligation. Inge, I think you said that there's some proposal for a kind of a working group or something inside of a SCAR AKIS to explore some of these broader applications of the voucher approach.
Yes, this just emerged yesterday because, well, at least I think 10 member states are interested to go that way. Maybe not always for the same purposes, maybe just for advice, others to combine certain knowledge topics. But what they are looking for is, in fact, the technicalities of how to set up such a system.
Ah, okay.
The IT technicalities.
Right.
Because we already got the reassurance from our colleagues of the Rural Development Coordination Unit that there was some idea that people thought that there's a problem with vouchers. The CAP doesn't agree with vouchers. So this is definitely not true. Vouchers are fine if you want to use it, but it's nowhere in the regulation, so there's no obligation either. But some member states want to use it for different purposes, and this little group is more looking to the technicality than to a number of systems. I think in Netherlands we have one already working for a year, and in Flanders we have one, but then not for farmers but for SMEs. Maybe working 5 or longer years. So they do have experience they can share, and we're going to look, well, the people who are organizing this, it's not me, they are going to try to collect all the practical experience to see what kind of systems you could invent or develop.
Super. Thank you for clarifying that.